Okay, we're back in my little studio, and I'm on my little couch. This little couch came from Indonesia, and it was a long root. I had to cut that root in half, and the back half became the back of the chair, and then this part became, and the longer part became the seat of the chair. So my mom, Vittoria, she wove this blanket all out of natural wool, and so I feel real good when I sit on it. Sometimes when I get tired of working, I'll come and I'll take a nap right here and just lie down and forget about everything. Um, this is one of my pieces that I made. It's Jesus Crucifixion, and I try to make it in the traditional New Mexican style. I used cottonwood to make the body. The body, all the way from the top of the head to the feet, is one piece of wood. The arms are attached to the cuerpo, to the body, with dowels, and then I carved those nails, the big nails, because when they crucified Jesus, they used big iron nails, and I painted the wood green to symbolize the tree that Jesus was crucified on, no, the tree, and I used oil paints to paint it with. That's usually what I use in my painting, oils, and it gives me a lot of this little area right here is a good place to just sit and think and just relax, and it's very relaxing for me to be able to see a piece like this. It gives me a sense of just like stillness, or I don't know how to say it, just a sense of serenity, I guess. And this piece was inspired by pieces that are made traditionally in New Mexico, and they were made for a long time by the hermanos, penitentes, that were a lay organization in New Mexico that would get together to help each other. At one time in New Mexico, we didn't have priests. There wasn't enough priests in New Mexico. So, or they would come maybe once a week on a visita, what we call a visita. They would visit the parish, but usually there wasn't enough priests to go around. So the members of the community, the male members, would get together and they would say prayers for the community. No, they would say the prayers, and they would help in funerals. They would bury the people. They would have velorios where you pray the rosary and pray all night for the departed. And they would also help widows. Let's say somebody in the community died, the male member, the female and her family were left alone. So they would bring food, and they would make sure they had wood for the winter, and they were like a support group for the community, the penitentes. And they still have, there's quite a few penitente brothers in New Mexico, and they still follow the same beautiful traditions. I've been fortunate enough to be invited by some of the penitentes to go pray with them, and I go every time they ask me, because I consider it an honor to be invited. And they'll invite me to some of their functions when they have for Lent. Sometimes for Holy Thursday, they'll have the Last Supper. They'll have the Last Supper, and they'll invite me to go. And sometimes they'll have processions, like they call it the Encuentro, when the Virgin Mary met Jesus on the way to the cross, when they encountered each other in Calvary, and they just looked at each other, and in their minds they were talking to each other, but Jesus was carrying the cross, and Mary was feeling all this sorrow for for what he was going through, and they have a certain point in the reenactment where the penitentes reenact what happened. They call the encuentro, where Jesus met up with Mary when he was carrying the cross, and they'll do it like with the saints and stuff. And I've been invited, lucky enough to be invited, fortunate enough to take part in that ceremony, and so I just feel very fortunate to be living in New Mexico, where we still have been able to maintain many of those traditions. We're a little bit losing some of our language and some of our traditions, but we're trying as hard as we can to make sure that our children are exposed to them and that they have the opportunity to follow the traditions, to go on and see a model that if they want to, they can follow that model, and if they can, but we're trying to help them all we can. We're trying to help our kids and the community the community is helping us, because we're the ones that are learning. We're learning from the community. We were very fortunate. I was very fortunate to be raised by my grandfather and my grandmother, and they were very spiritual people that prayed every day the rosary. Every day, when they got up, they said the rosary, and every night they said the rosary. So we went to visit them. We would pray in the morning and at night, and pray for everyone, not just for ourselves, but pray for everybody that we knew, and ask God to help us to be able to have food on the table. And at the same time, we didn't just pray, but we had to go out and work for that food. We had to plant, we had to hoe the fields, and help in any way that we could, because we gathered capulin, that's in English, choke cherries. We gathered choke cherries to make jelly. We gathered acorns to feed the animals. We gathered piñon, and the piñon's coming up pretty soon, I hope, this year. It only comes about every 5 or 7 years that piñon comes around. But when it does come around, the people around here, man, they go picking it, because everybody loves to eat it. Everybody loves to eat it. And that's how we used to do in the old days. Pick piñon, we pick verdolagas. I don't know what they call them in English. They're a plant that grows on the ground, and it's good with beans. And we pick spinach. We still pick verdolagas. We pick spinach. And so we try to be as self-sufficient as we can. We don't have a farm. We can't. We don't have a yard to plant. But we have friends that do have farms. And in the old days, I remember that my grandfather was real good friends with Mano Guillermo from Chamita, and Mano Guillermo used to tell my grandfather, bring out the whole family and help me on this day. We're going to harvest chili or whatever. And we would take out the whole family, and his wife, Mana Meres, would make this great, one of the best dinners that you ever tasted in your life, with red chili and the whole works for the workers that we would go work, helping them on their fields and picking up the produce that they got. And she would make the most best dinner that you ever tasted in your life. And so those are some of the good memories that I have. They had apples, the best apples that you could ever taste, on their trees. And so we would, but that all comes around to our faith, our family, our friends, of how we make a living, or how we eat, how we live. And it all has to do with faith, with Jesus, because we look to Jesus for his guidance, and we thank him for what he suffered for us, and how he showed us a path to try and be good people. And so all together, our faith and our friends and our work, because there's a saying in Spanish that that it's not going to come to you automatically. You have to try. Es la diligencia. That's la diligencia. That's diligence. Try to work for what you have. In other words, if you just lie around all day, like, you're not going to get very much at the end of the day. You have to go out and try and do something. And so that's all the customs that we have in New Mexico. And all has to do with family, faith, and love. And so I'm very fortunate to have experienced that in my family. My dad died when I was very young, and we were raised by our grandparents and my mother, and she raised 8 kids, because in all she had 8 children. 1 died, so that by now 3 are already dead. But my mother is still alive, and I respect her, and I admire her, that by herself she did this. She raised a family by herself, and she taught us how to work, how to respect people, and to value things that are handmade. She would take the time to take us to see things, to see art. At a very young age, we were exposed to art in Mexico, that my mom would drive us down all the way to Juarez, all the way to Chihuahua, to see art. That's what we were mostly interested in seeing. And you can imagine how hard it was for her, a single working mother. She would work in Los Alamos as a maid, cleaning houses, but still on the weekends, we would be able to do things, not just travel to other places, but around here, around New Mexico. We knew a lot of people, and go visit and things like that. And she showed us, she taught us the value of appreciating people, of appreciating your neighbor, and helping your neighbor, and when you do that, your neighbor, a lot of times, if he can, he'll help you, and so that's the way that we've gotten to where we're at, because otherwise, without help or without people there was a barter economy in the old days, and there still is to a lot of degree here in New Mexico, because, like I said before, people that have fruit growing in their fruit trees, they'll tell you, go pick some fruit, come and help me pick fruit, or you go pick fruit for yourself. And so here we come with buckets of cherries, buckets of apples, and different vegetables that we get from helping people. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the way that Jesus was, and the way that he taught us how to live. And that's why making sculptures like this crucifix and the Good Shepherd and the Virgin Mary, it reminds us of him and the Holy Family, and it shows us a way for us to live, to be able to, we all want to go to heaven. No, I want to go to heaven. I don't know if I will or not, because I've had a hard life too, but if we try and follow Jesus and ask for forgiveness, I really do believe that we will be able to go to heaven. No? And that's about it that I have to say for these guys. But